It's amazing what happens when you just ask that simple question. In all my years of doing open houses, and I've done a lot of open houses, I have never ever not in the
When news spreads about a public figure's passing, it is often the closest people in their life who carry the heaviest emotions. And in this unfolding story surrounding Darrell Sheets, attention has now turned toward his ex-wife, Kimber Wuerfel, whose emotional reaction has reportedly left fans reflecting on the deeper side of his life beyond television. And what she shared, if these accounts are to be believed, is far more personal than anyone expected. Darrell Sheets, known worldwide as the gambler from StorageWars, was always seen as bold, loud, and fearless in front of the cameras. But behind that television persona was a life filled with relationships, challenges, memories, and emotional chapters that the public rarely saw. And Kimber Wuerfel, as one of the people who shared a significant part of that journey, has now reportedly opened up in a deeply emotional reflection. According to circulating discussions and interview-style reports, Kimber's words were not focused on fame, television success, or public legacy. Instead, she spoke from a more personal place, one shaped by years of shared history, memories, and life experiences. And from the very beginning of her message, the tone was emotional. She reportedly described Darrell not just as a television personality, but as someone who lived life with intensity, someone who could be unpredictable, passionate, and deeply committed to the things he cared about. But she also reflected on something more complex, that behind the confident exterior was a man who carried emotional depth that only a few people ever truly understood. And that is where her words began to resonate with fans, because it showed a side of Darrell Sheets that was never fully visible on screen. Kimber reportedly spoke about their time together, describing moments that were both joyful and challenging. She recalled how life with someone like Darrell was never quiet or simple. It was always full of movement, decisions, and energy. But at the same time, she emphasized that there were real human moments behind it all. Quiet conversations, shared struggles, and memories that stayed long after their paths separated. And this is where the emotional weight of her message began to grow. She reportedly said that even though life took them in different directions, there are people who remain part of your story forever, not because of fame or circumstance, but because of shared time and shared experiences that cannot be replaced. That statement alone quickly began circulating among fans, because it wasn't about television. It was about life. As her emotional reflection continued, Kimber is said to have acknowledged the impact Darrell had on those around him, not just as a public figure, but as someone whose personality left a strong impression on everyone he met. She described him as someone who could fill a room with energy, someone who didn't hesitate to take risks, and someone who believed in pushing forward no matter the situation. But she also hinted at something more reflective, that people often only see one version of someone who lives in the public eye, and that the full story is always more complicated. That idea added a deeper emotional layer to her message, because it reminded viewers that behind entertainment, there are real human lives, real relationships, and real emotions that continue even when the cameras stop rolling. According to the circulating narrative, Kimber also expressed sympathy for the family, particularly Darrell's children, acknowledging that loss affects everyone differently but always leaves a permanent mark. And this is where fans began connecting emotionally. Because regardless of past relationships or personal history, grief has a way of bringing perspective. Her message reportedly didn't focus on conflict or distance. Instead, it focused on reflection, on time, on memory, and on the reality that people remain part of your life story in ways that don't disappear easily. As the discussion around her comments spread online, fans began revisiting older moments from StorageWars, reflecting on Darrell Sheets, personality, his presence on screen, and the energy he brought to the show. Many noted how his larger-than-life personality may have overshadowed the quieter emotional aspects of his personal life. And Kimber's message seemed to reinforce that idea, that there was always more beneath the surface. Meanwhile, emotional reactions from fans continued to grow across social platforms. Some expressed sadness, others shared appreciation for the honesty in her reflection, and many simply revisited memories of Darrell's most iconic television moments. Because for viewers, he wasn't just a cast member. He was a personality that shaped an entire reality TV era. And now, hearing emotional reflections from people connected to his personal life adds another layer to how fans remember him. As Kimber's reported statement continues to circulate, one part stands out most clearly: the idea that people are not defined by a single version of themselves. Not by fame, not by television edits, but by the full complexity of their lives, relationships, choices, memories, and emotional impact on others. And in that sense, her words feel less like a statement and more like a reflection, a reminder that behind every public figure is a private story that the world may never fully see. And as fans continue to process the news surrounding Darrell Sheets, Kimber Wuerfel's emotional perspective adds something important to the conversation. Not closure, but understanding. Because sometimes, the most powerful tributes are not about what is said in headlines, but what is remembered in the heart.